front of an audience, playing in front of a home crowd. And when you go to events like this, it's not easy to transition from playing at home in front of your own computer, whatever you're wearing, your own chair, and being able to play at the same kind of level here now in front of the stage, in front of people cheering you on. And he's really impressed me in how he can keep that composure.
That's right. These players are competing in front of a live audience today. But as I mentioned last week, it's just like riding a bicycle. Once you load into the lobby, you just kind of focus in, tunnel into, draw on months of experience, and you just, get into the flow.
And I think what I love best is that he didn't even know he would be playing in this tournament today when he went into his own solos for the Polish edition. He won the whole tournament, then he come out like, oh, I'm playing in next week as well, where the prize money is even higher, and I'm playing against even better players. Like, this is his chance to really break through and make a name for himself.
Yeah, last week was just a warm-up for him.
Yeah.
You can see the standings there of, obviously picking up that win at the end. He had a couple of victory royales in there. He had a second place in there as well. His consistency was really impressive, but the eliminations, that was what stood out for me. But
that's a good point. And that's something we have to talk about now, Speedy, is that this format is different than what we had just in the Secret Skirmish. Every elimination counts. Every elimination is worth 5 points. And with Stormwings being taken out now with Season 8, which is a very important factor, people have to play more aggressive. And if you played in that Polish tournament and now you come into this, you know that. You know that you have to be a little bit more aggressive. You have to be a little bit more aggressive into how you go for these kind of eliminations. And you need to get those points on the board. You can't play passive and play for placing.
Absolutely. What I expect to see in Game 1 is, players kind of feeling each other out. However, because this is a new format for some of these players, they've been practicing Pop-Up Cup in the past, and this is a format that they haven't really had, the opportunity to scrim and practice too much. So I definitely expect them to feel it out. But Jarkos definitely felt it out last week. He's going to come in feeling pretty confident.
And of course, we've got the changes of Season 8 as well. So there's a few, headaches for a few players to think about where they're going to be dropping, etc. But we've got to remind ourselves of what these guys are playing for as well. $100,000 on the line. For a lot of these guys, they've made some huge money already in their competitive Fortnite career. But $100,000, yes, you can see here. For first place, $20,000 in the bank. And you can see how the breakdown is there. That's such a huge amount of money to be competing for.
That's a lot of Yeezys.
That's a lot of Yeezys.
I actually think it's interesting, too, because if you look at the total standings of earnings across Fortnite, we're potentially going to have some mix-ups here. Because Tifu's not here to maintain and to fight for his #1 position. Now we have Bizzle coming in with about 16,400 difference between the two. This is his chance to overtake him, to overthrow him.
If Bizzle manages to go home with $17,000, he becomes the most winningest player in Fortnite.
Yeah, all up until later on with the World Cup as well.
Everything's going to change.
But that's still impressive.
We're seeing the leaderboards change, but it is a chance for Bizzle to certainly put his marker down. Let's have a look at the schedule, though, for today, gentlemen, because obviously we've got a lot of games for today. We've got 7 rounds to get through, and you can see the first one will be kicking off at around 2:20 local time, and then every single hour, or even less than that, we were getting straight into games today. We have another game coming. They're coming thick, they're coming fast, and not a lot of time for people to maybe adjust. It's kind of game after game. You got to be on your ball.
That's a perfect point, actually, the adjusting factor. Because last week we did have, after Game 2, a nice little break for players to eat lunch and to give them time to think things over. Now you don't have that opportunity, right? Now you play one match, and you basically have to go straight into the next one after about 15 minutes of time. So your chance to think things through and figure out what do I need to do differently in this next game, that's been shut on you. You have to adapt mid-game, and I think that's where the Polish players are going to have the biggest advantage, knowing that they played last week, they know how this kind of format works, and they're going to be able to at least be extra aggressive early on.
Absolutely. There's definitely a lot less time to reevaluate your decisions in the previous match. And for some of these players, such as 72 Hours in Chap, whose landing spot got taken away, Rip Wailing, there's now a volcano there, and they have to, they haven't had the opportunity to practice their rotations, their landing spots, how to contest, where to go for mobility, and they're going to have a couple of minutes in between games to reevaluate their decisions.
I mean, hell, like the thing is, they're used to playing in North America. They're used to playing with opponents they play week in and week out, right? So they're used to knowing where everyone's going to be dropping across the map. Now they're coming into the international tournament where things can change up. They'll be playing against people they never expected to be there. They're going to be challenged out at every corner of the map.
Well, that's one thing I want to touch on a little bit more, gentlemen. We talked about how this is the international tournament. This is one of the biggest ever international tournaments as far as nationalities being represented is concerned. We have 28 different nationalities, and we have the chance for a lot of these players to compete against what are known as the best in the world when they're a kind of a little bit of an unknown quantity. You know, we have players coming in from Brazil, we have South Korean players coming in. Literally from every single region of the world is being represented here. As we have a look at the players attending, but Speedy, is there any players in particular that you've got your eye on this tournament?
I'm definitely interested to see how the X2 twins perform. You know, Jesse and Jordan. The only way to tell them apart is by their 90s.
Okay, we'll let you do that.
In Australia, do they do 90s backwards?
Yeah, counterclockwise.
Yeah, exactly. But no, it's a good point. Like, these are two players we have to keep our eye on because they have that telepathic link between the two. Obviously, not going to be a real thing, at least depends on what you believe in, but that gives you the option to really play a different style and really show what Australia has to this table.
Absolutely. Jesse took home Australia Open, came in first, but now he's in the lobby with EU players, Mitro, and NA players, Saf and Bizzle, who performed really well in Secret Skirmish 2 weeks ago. And it's going to be really interesting to see how all of these players in the same lobby kind of mesh and how the outcome shakes out.
And the thing is, we have our big names you mentioned, like your Safs, your Bizzle. With Saf in particular, he finished first place in duos in Secret Skirmish, second place in solos. But he had the most eliminations in duos, and he had the second most eliminations in solos. He's been so consistent at that tournament, which is why I have him picked to probably win today.
And that's a great point as well, because, you know, it's something that maybe we look back at the Secret Skirmish eliminations, you know, they were a factor, but we looked at how Yakos played last week. Those eliminations in this format are what changed games. So if he can repeat that kind of performance, that second can quite comfortably turn into a first.
And I think it might actually. I mean, the thing is, there's so many big names here, but there's still some that just stand out beyond the rest. And then on the other side of that coin, right, we talk about the players that everyone knows about. What about the players that people don't know a ton about? Fa and History coming in from Brazil. This is a region where esports is probably like one of the most ingrained things within the culture. I think maybe like South Korea is the only country more ingrained in them. They have so many fans behind them. They are actually the best players in Brazil as well, and are representing themselves, representing their country. I think they're 100% a force to reckon with.
Absolutely. Also, players like FaxFox, who's generally known for landing tilted, going to contest some of those known players such as Aiden, maybe Nick Merckx. Definitely going to keep an eye on that.
And then there's another player we have to mention. The prodigy, Milan, just turned 16.
Yeah, there's always a young, whatever esport, like, it's one thing you learn, whatever esport you had, there is always a young god, and we've got our eyes on this guy, right?
And not only is he a prodigy for a reason, which we're going to see today, he plays on a potato laptop, if I'm not mistaken, at home. Like, this guy has been able to play in the worst conditions. Now coming here with, the top-of-line PCs, the monitors as well, I wonder how much better he's going to play now because of this.
Yeah, it's almost become a meme, right? Like Milan playing on a potato, like a little dinky laptop.
Do you think he requested specifically like a laptop to play on instead of the PC here?
I think he tried. I think he tried.
I want to talk about Season 8, though, because obviously we had Season 8, the update dropped just a few days ago now. Bit of time for these players to adjust. They've had a few games on it, but maybe not as much as they potentially would have liked. But talk to me, Speedy, about some of the changes on the map, maybe for some of the people at home who haven't had the opportunity to catch up with Season 8.
So if you've been living under a rock for the past 48 hours, there is a volcano now on the map.
It's a massive volcano.
It's a massive volcano. There's a lot of mobility being added to that side of the region. Cannons, volcanic vents that launch you up into the air with redeploy. You just get around the area. There's pirate outposts all over the map now, and like I mentioned before, Wailing Woods, RIP, gone. So now a lot of these players that landed on the northeastern side of the map have to change their drop spots, have to live try to contest, try to make new rotations using a new format.
And not only changes to the map, I mentioned it before, the Stormwing now being out of the equation when it comes to this tournament and to come into Season 8. If you're one of those players who heavily relied on, hey, let's find a Stormwing early on, I want to play safe until top 15, top 20, then go for placement points. Well, now you're forced to take a lot more engagements early on than you never expected to, and that's going to hurt you so much.
That's right. You can't camp in the air in a Stormwing to get top 10 placement anymore. Now, you have to rely entirely on your ground rotation game. Launchpads, rifts are still in the game. But yeah, it's a completely different meta shift in terms of mobility. You have to use drift boards. You have to use those vents. You have to use anything you can get your hands on now.
I'm hoping people bring a pirate cannon actually towards the later stage of the game and just see everyone blasting out of those. Also, a change we haven't touched on is the drop rate for like the quality AR has actually been dropped. It's been decreased. Epic got, I think, one of the biggest hits, so it's a little bit harder to get the extra damage in. Legendary didn't get changed around too much, and that's an important factor when we get into what weapons you're going to have to fight. But the biggest change for me has to be the Infinity Dab got increased from 11 hours duration
This
to
is
12.
huge.
That
So
is massive buff.
I've got a challenge for you, Jason. If you start now, I mean, me and Speedy can kind of carry this on. If you start now, we'll let you know when 12 hours is done. Are you good with that?
I could, I just don't dab.
Okay,
it's
fair
just not
enough.
me. It's not my
Fair
style.
enough. Some of us do, some of us don't. Anyway, Speedy, another thing I want to talk about, you talk about how players' drops are changing and how their rotations are going to change. How do you feel like the players are going to react that have had to find these new drop spots very quickly? Do you think they're going to go to something maybe they've been more comfortable with before and kind of maybe dropped into some of those areas? Or do you think that they might kind of risk some of these new areas to drop in, having had a little bit of practice, a little bit of time under their belts on the map?
So this is the first time most of these players have been in the same lobby. A lot of common drop spots are going to be overlapping. You know, 3/4 of the map kind of remain the same. There's only that northeastern region that's kind of like a question mark. But, you know, they haven't had a lot of time to really practice it. So I think they're going to be learning live, learning as they go. And, I mean, yesterday they were practicing and they were like, I can't find an uncontested spot. So I definitely expect them to, you know, it's going to be a little bit of a challenge for sure.
Good. Good. They need a challenge. Like, for me personally, if you want to call yourself the best in the world, you have to be able to adapt. You got Season 8 coming out. You're going to have to maybe change up your location. But I think in the end, everyone is generally confident in dropping anywhere on the map. They're just more confident at those specific spots. So I would assume they're still going to be fine overall.
I think that's going to make it interesting for me as well. It's just these first few games where these players are dropping certain areas. Say we have a couple of the big names just so happen to drop next to each other. That could be a big change because we've seen how one single game and one amount of points that you gain in one of these rounds can hugely affect your final standing.
Yeah.
You say that Saf and Bizzle land next to each other at the start, you know, and everyone's like, okay, like one of these guys might die here, and then all of a sudden there are no points on the board and not the points that you want. The changes, they changed the meta like so significantly that, as you say, learning on the fly is going to be so important for these guys. And one thing I wanted to ask you, Speedy, is there any players that you know that adapt quicker than others, that sort of when the start of these seasons kick off, that all of a sudden they're like, okay, we pick it up straight away, we know where we want to go, and can kind of adjust on the fly and really make it their own?
That's a tough one because you never really want to change up your drop spot, you know, going into a major tournament such as this. So they honestly have no choice. They have to adapt, and they have to adapt quickly.
And there's this whole mind game that goes on, this whole like mini game within the game that happens in Fortnite. We talked to Lothar, who was playing just last week, saying he dropped Viking Village. He won it 3 times out of like 4. And he's like, okay, there's no way someone's going to land here again next to me. And sure enough, next round, like 3 other players drop there. So there's this mind game of like, if I beat you, are you going to leave? Do you expect me to leave? And then you kind of have to deal with the situation given to you once you do drop down. Okay,
let's talk about some more notable players. We kind of highlighted some of the players that are going to go under the radar a little bit. There's some ones to keep our eye on. Let's talk about the big boys. I mean, what are the big standout players for you, Speedy? Who are you expecting to be potentially lifting that trophy when all is said and done at the end of the solos?
Like I mentioned before, Saf did amazing in Secret Skirmish. I expect him to perform extremely well here.
I got a player for you we haven't talked about just yet, Mitro.
Ooh.
#1 earner in EU, 9th overall. That just shows the difference between NA and EU. This is his chance to not only win the whole tournament, but I think more importantly for him, to go up against 72 hours. Like, that's a victory in its own, right? You know, forget the trophy, forget the prize money. He wants his chance to go up against his rival.
That's the rivalry we all want to see happen.
Oh, yeah. And I can't wait for it, because it's going to be epic. You know, whichever one of those wins is going to be celebrating the chair.
And a couple of players I want to talk about as well that were kind of challenging that tilted. So actually, do you know what? I'm going to leave it to. I'm going to let the story tell itself, gentlemen. Do you know why? Because it's time to get into game #1, baby. Katowice, I hope you're ready for this one. Round #1 is underway. Gentlemen, take it away.
Oh, man. So, Fax Fox, we wanted to look at this man in particular, and I'm a little bit disappointed off the bat here. At least in solos, I'll say this, though, Speedy. We talked about him, and he's been so vocal about how often he wants to go tilted. But he's given it up off the bat. So adaptations, as we were just talking about on the desk, we're seeing players do that, at least here in solos so far today.
I 100% expected him to drop tilted, but it looks like he's opting to go into one of the most populated, more contested areas now, the pirate ship.
You're going to have Thunk Bomb there, as you can see, towards that north-hand side as well. He's going to have at least a couple of chests off the guy. Well, actually, 3 of them. Looks like he's actually read into this position quite well because triple chests off the bat. That's going to get him loaded up relatively well. You can see he's got the redeploy in there. He's got the SMG, a grenade launcher as well.
The only thing he's missing in this loadout is a shotgun. He can't really contest someone close range, but maybe he could pop a couple of grenades at an opponent, get some shield tags.
Well, let's see. So, unfortunately for him, he's not going to be going tilted. We're not going to see the battle of him up against Aiden. We already do have our first eliminations rolling in. Jarl's going to be dropped off the bat here. Fnatic going to be down 1 player. But yeah, I'm a little bit sad to not see him. But at the same rate, I'm proud of him to adapt his style, right? To change things up.
Absolutely. I'm excited to see what he can do in this pirate ship area. Stompy over here in Frosty Flights.
Yeah, so it looks like he's been relatively uncontested so far. Still has that chest up above him if he does need it. We have Demo up against Eric off the bat as well. So a little bit of building going on now, and it looks like Demo, actually both players not going to have any sort of shields. Demo's the one applying this pressure.
Absolutely. The reason you land here in Diner is because you don't want to get contested, but didn't really work out according to plan.
All right, so while we do see this fight breaking down as Nate takes down Shinken, just to update you as well around the map, we actually do have a relatively good spread across. We got a couple of players already being dropped as well. I'm trying to go over the list. Is any notable names that you
Demo taking down Eric. A beautiful pump.
Yep, very, very beautiful. We see Saf as well. Flexi, the German player here out of Gambit, going to be hiding inside of a bush in the meantime. And just to remind you guys at home, this is a different format. Every elimination matters. Every elimination gets you 5 points on the board, and Demo already has his first.
The bush strat's a classic, too. Just kind of hide in there and hope your opponent doesn't see you. Try to sneak around. Smeeth really low here.
That's actually Milan's duo, the 16-year-old prodigy that we're talking about before. He's got a legendary compact SMG. He's got the shotgun as well. He's got a decent kit, but what he doesn't have, Speedy, is the health to work with here, especially if up against the Vic.
No, he needs to get out of here, and he needs to get out of here fast.
Well, it looks like he's going to be trying to do so. As you can see now, the Vic going to be taking down some of these walls, replacing it for himself, and you can already see there's a major battle happening here on top of things. Windwalker now going to be up against Power, so Jarl's teammate here out of Fnatic.
Looks like Power had recently taken out another opponent. Windwalker just kind of there waiting for third party.
Well, the big names that we expected to be looking at over the course of today, Speedy, are still alive and kicking.
Yeah, Power just kind of disengaging there with the drift board. It's a nice little mobility item to get you in and out of situations as fast as possible. Oh. You have Nate Hill kind of off to the side there. Kuna was...
Yeah, it's going to be up an interesting fight here. He actually does have the higher position up against him. He's just looking for that shot. He's got the shotgun. He's trying to go for the place. He's trying to take down multiple walls so he can get control of it.
Marana is so weak here, and Kuna knows it. He gets into his box. The trap goes down.
Actually, he got the great little replace up. He's not getting the elimination just yet. Another place to become. He will take down Marana. So that'll be his first elimination. We heard a trap go down in the last second there. A couple of clingers as well. Even scored it.
The disrespect.
Or respect, I want to call it. No, but disrespect definitely there. You have Myth now, a player that we haven't even talked about over the course of today, representing TSM. He's got Cloud as his partner for tomorrow when we get into our duos. He's got Kripa to fight with here, to contend with. But so far, only 9 eliminations have gone through.
Absolutely. Myth's landing spot is typically Lonely Lodge. Didn't get affected by the Season 8 patch, so nice little rotation there that he's used to.
You see Tixi able to get above Zypan here. Now, if you're Zypan in this situation, Speedy, how do you kind of fight your way out of this?
This is a tough situation. You're just kind of sitting there, turtling, trying to disengage. It looked like he's going for the disengage, actually. Meanwhile, you know, his opponent's just holding high ground.
He's given him the high ground, though, so he's given him the respect, which I think is really important to see.
Yeah, none of these players really want to engage each other. You can see by the way they're moving around. They just kind of got into an awkward situation where they ran into each other. And they said, hey, you know, let's just go our separate ways here. Yeah, let's just back away. Let's just play for the later on stages of this one. Myth's still looking for Kripa, and Kripa seems to be the one wanting to take the fight here. Yeah, so even though Kripa has high ground, Myth is healthy here. And he's making the push happen. Only 8 builds, 7 builds left here for Kripa as he's using all of his materials for this engagement. Down to 9 HP. He's got a first aid kit, but the Stink Bomb comes through. And it looks like the Stink Bomb will take him down. Myth gets the elimination, and more importantly, gets his first on the board. I'd love to see it. Myth performing well in a tournament environment. Kaiser up against Jesse. You wanted to see the X2 boys. We're going to have our first little inkling of a fight here as
Looks like he's going to eventually just back away here. He's got a couple of clingers. I like to see these clingers. We haven't really had many of them go off in the early stages, but as we know, transition to that mid game, attention to that late game is where things are really interesting. Now Bowman going to be under a couple of shots here up against Beehive.
3 players up here on the mountain. It's kind of an awkward situation. You can't really disengage. There's no more storm wings. You can't leave. There's a couple of zip lines that you can take, but overall Beehive just kind of holding on to that high ground.
There are 3 players, though. I wonder if Beehive knows there's a player like pretty much directly under him. The thing is, he's fine. He's in the circle for now.
Yeah, there's no rush. I mean, Beehive has a rift. He can get out of here. Skite has a rift. They can both get out of here whenever they want. They're in zone. They have plenty of time.
Funk Bomb and Demo, 2 players I didn't expect to be going head-to-head this early on now, Speedy. But it doesn't seem like we're going to have a fight break off just yet.
Yeah, so Funk Bomb and Nate Hill, both duos, currently in solos, but they kind of have a more passive endgame style. So I definitely don't expect them to see them pushing aggressively towards any situation that they can avoid.
Well, maybe not them, but Fox is here in the vicinity, and we know him to be very, very aggressive. He has a launch pad if he wants to use it. But again,
Imagine just went down in the kill feed there.
Yeah, Zypan does secure that elimination. But I like to see this. We have 4 players currently in this vicinity, and again, I kind of agree with you. I kind of want to, bring to life your sentiments again. I don't think we're going to see any sort of engagement just yet. Myth now potentially trying to come in as well. Just pick up the quad, going to be looking to come around. Jordan now, the other X2 player with Seth hot on his heels. He's got a decent kit to use too. He's got a slurp in there, a couple of small shields.
Yeah, he's looking good. Definitely playing for endgame. It's kind of what we expected to see, right? The first game, everyone just feeling each other out. Aggressive players like Fox, no eliminations yet, first circle in. Typical of what, a first game should kind of look like.
Yeah, exactly. Stink Bomb coming in. He knows there's a player there now taking a little bit of damage. Throws it ahead of him, trying to catch him off guard. Seth is just being pressured as Jordan's looking to actually close it on this elimination potentially. He's got the shotgun for up close plays, going for the replace. He gets it. He goes for the edit as well, but that's a great escape here by Seth. But for how long? Actually, Seth actually escapes and manages to turn around to take down Jordan with a great little play. Uses the ramp to block the shot, right? Then gets above him and drops.
I absolutely expected Jordan to win that engagement. He had the shield or the health tags on him. He had the advantage. He had the high ground, and Seth ended up turning it around.
Now X8 going to be tuning in with him here as his kit. Yeah, looking all right for now. So having a little bit of a strong start, which is very important for here. Dementos be on Team Secret now, going for a little engagement up against Saf, and Saf is the player I have to win this whole thing, to win this whole tournament solos. And no, Saf goes down. The commentator's curse comes through. My boy Saf, I'm sorry, I apologize, but Dementos, that was a fantastic shot.
I'm so upset. I really wanted to see Saf in the end game and show us what he could do.
We got a pirate cannon.
We have a cannon.
We got a pirate cannon. I want to see someone get an elimination with this. Hell, I want to see someone blast out of it like Team Rocket and get it across the other side of the map. And now Provoked is going to be on the high guard. He's got Vilix and BloodX under him.
It's kind of funny that we see these players setting up here. They know there's a cannon. Really good in case they don't get circled. Just kind of launch out of there. If you're in a cannon, you can get 100 or 260 meters in one direction.
And you can do a lot of damage with it too. You can do, I think it's 100 direct, it's like 50 splash. That's a lot of damage.
That's a lot of damage that you can inflict on your opponent there. Vilix, really weak.
Yeah, I think it might be time to use the Rift here to escape this one, just to go for the first aid. We got the Storm Surge coming through. He's actually below the threshold. Now he's going to be above it, luckily for him. But the pressure's going to be coming through, and Provoked going to get that elimination, get his first now.
Provoked ends up getting that elimination nicely. Unfortunately, Vilix did not use the Rift and did not rotate out. Just kind of sticking around, hoping that he would get lost in the sauce, but it didn't end up working for him.
I kind of wanted to see him actually use it, right? Because he had the first aids. He had the opportunity to retreat from here, heal back up, keep himself alive to get into that top 50 where he can start accumulating these points.
Yeah, the problem with using a Rift, especially at this phase of the game, is if someone sees you Rift, they know you're weak. So everyone in the lobby is going to start taking those AR shots at you. They've been co-vaxing 5 hours a day, so they're definitely going to get some tags. He was weak, probably wouldn't have survived.
By the way, Envy, I did see on the activity feed yet again. I believe that's his second now so far. We haven't really talked about the Korean players just yet, but he's been doing some work so far, able to get 10 points on the board. You can see Chap able to take down Poach. A little bit of a team elimination there with Liquid Boys, but, you know, that's what's going to happen when it comes to solos.
The team betrayal. Hate to see it.
All right, well, we can see, though, people are starting to group up. Myth going to be still alive, as you can see. We got 0-7 as well, a player here from China from World Elite, going to be participating, still alive so far, as we're starting to trickle down, losing player by player. Flexi has gone down, by the way, a little bit earlier on, just to kind of get you up to date on the players we have had drop.
And kind of an interesting note, there's a lot of players setting up on this side of the map, especially around this, you know, this mountain.
Right.
A lot of these players trying to get center zone, trying to get as close to some mobility items as possible so that if they don't get circle, they can move on out to the next area. So a lot of these players setting up on that pirate ship, like I mentioned before, making sure that they can use that cannon if they don't get the circle.
Oh,
and they do get the circle, so you know, no rush.
You saw Zayt there towards the northern side, able to close in. He's actually the little purple arrow there on the minimap. Hupek, actually a player from Poland as well. He played last week, didn't really have the results that he was looking for, and the thing is, him and Skix were actually two of the players a lot of people were pointing out in particular that just didn't seem to really rise to the occasion last week, but here's a different chance.
Aim Hero, one of the Korean players here, he ended up dropping Tilted. I guess his teammate, that might have been the reason. They might have flipped a coin.
Maybe.
Said Aim Hero.
Ooh, a lot of them coming through. Those Zextro gets on the board. The Vic gets on the board as well. And players are starting to drop like flies. This Aim Hero trying to live up to his name here, and he won't be able to. That'll be Hupek able to come up big. And now
Camo moving on in for the third party. Heard a lot of action. There's also Max Aliber. But Hupek is just going to shoot up there, and everyone's going to go their separate ways. So he's safe for now.
And Camo's pretty much ahead of the group so far in retreating from this position. Mitro. What can we say about you? We want to talk about you quite a bit. He looks like did get elimination. And then you see Stompy trying to come through, who could get third party from Mitro from the other side. Stompy's going to be in a very precarious position here, Speedy.
Camo, you know, just locking in on him, not really firing. He wants to get into circle here, but he gets tagged from the back.
He's got the rift if he needs it. You can see Camo trying to bide his time. That's going to be Cloud walking around him here. Just going to be healing back up, get back to that 200 HP as the storm will start to shrink here.
Yeah, you definitely don't want to waste that rift if you don't have to. So you just want to hold on to that until endgame.
So here's the question for you, right? It's a line that everyone knows. Is it true if you don't use it, you lose it? In these situations when you're on so low HP, you just have to use the rift, right? Like, the thing is, you're most likely not going to get elimination. You need to run to have another chance later on to maybe break into some points in the top 50.
It absolutely depends. You definitely want the rift for endgame. You want it for those, you know, far-moving circles. But we saw a player earlier. He didn't use the rift. He ended up going down. So if you're in a tight spot, in a little pinch, you want to get out of there, you have to burn your mobility. You have to get out of there, and you have to live to fight another day.
Exactly, and I honestly, I would respect that play. Just unfortunate that we didn't see it.
TSM Cloud and TSM Myth,
right next to
neighbors
each other.
next to each other, duos tomorrow.
Yeah, well, they're enemies today, but they're friends tomorrow, or hopefully they'll be friends again tomorrow, as Bizzle does get elimination for himself. You see Stompy doesn't have the greatest kit in terms of weapons, but he does have the 2 rifts, and he does have a lot of shields to use. Here's Cloud's being pressured by Airwax. Airwax's thing is, he's been a professional player in other games before in a MOBA. He's been playing at the top level, and I know Stress back there is looking at him to be one of the top performers over the course of this weekend.
Absolutely, Airwax, another day, another land.
A little provoked. Again, he's going to have the shotgun, the rifts. We see a lot of rifts in play technically at the moment. So when we get into those later stages, things are going to get extremely crazy. A lot of players are actually still towards that Dusty Divot side and towards the southern side of the circles. So I'm imagining we're going to have here, Speedy, in a few moments, people start to transition here up north.
Yeah, the majority of the lobby is outside of the circle right now. Most of these players at the broken pirate outpost need to start going on in. I expect a launch pad going in. This is TSM taking out Kripa.
Yeah, good old Myth. And then Seth as well. Nice little drop down. He actually catches his opponent off guard. He wasn't even looking towards him.
I always get nervous when I see them drop into a box. Traps could go down, could easily turn the other direction.
Yeah, and you don't want to be eliminated from a trap, at least in game 1. Mitro as well, looking for the shot the window. I believe he did get that one. But now we've got Camo there. We've got Nate, Scram, Tomo from Alliance, Sakona as well. Smeep off to the side. Again, the duo from Milan. And Animal, we haven't even touched on him just yet. I think Zacubus was saying he's a player he expects to do well.
You definitely want to keep an eye on Animal. Yesterday during the practice matches, him and his teammate Aspect actually won 2 practice games back-to-back.
Wow. That's a good sign. That's an amazing sign.
That is an amazing sign.
I just hope they didn't peak too early in the tournament, you know? Get those 2 wins yesterday and then not be able to perform when it comes to the actual matches.
Absolutely. Hopefully the adrenaline left them and they're nice, calm, and collected. Ghost Aiden, they're on the side, just trying to get into zone.
Yeah, good to see him still alive and kicking. I believe you mentioned before Aim Hero was the player that was over towards Tilted, so it looks like they're just disengaged from each other. Storm Surge in effect as well.
So Storm Surge, if a player is, you know, for example here, Provoked has 265 above the threshold.
Yeah.
He's in a nice position. He doesn't have to worry about it, but for the player who doesn't have a lot of player damage dealt, he's going to start getting his health ticked. In a really tough position, he's definitely going to want to start pushing or laying down some fire. Well, otherwise, he's going to be out of the tournament.
Yeah, and, well, at least out of the first round. Let's say he's not out of the tournament. We're not kicking him out yet, Speedy.
Out of the game.
Yeah, out of the game. We can see Aiden going to be taking high ground here as we see a lot of players trying to build on and add their own little rooms to this giant castle being built. Milan has fallen, unfortunately. But again, just match number 1. Just turned 16 about a day, or not a day, so about a week ago, if I'm not mistaken. And Jarkos, the man that came in as the wild card into this, didn't even know he's going to be playing here today in this SOLOS tournament. He's still alive here as we're about to approach that top 50.
I'm definitely excited to see him still alive. I definitely want to see how he does. I believe I see Liquid 72 Hours there still alive as well. So he managed to, you know, get a safe drop and rotate on into the circle.
Jarkos has to be careful, though. He's got Jesse off to his side. He's got Skix under them, but we're at these stages where everyone's going to be on everyone. It's about hitting these shots, getting the eliminations where you can get them. You can see Jarkos still just looking for a couple of shots here in between. He's got a launch pad, so there's no need for him to rush into the circle just yet.
Yeah, the ideal situation here is that someone else puts down their launch pad and you just take their launch pad. You don't really want to put down your own.
Yeah.
You want to save it for endgame, save it for that, you know, those long moving circles. And most of these players over here by the diner definitely needs to start thinking about that rotation.
Cloud has fallen, by the way, so TSM going to be losing another player so far in
Kuna's still in it.
Yeah, he's still around, and Zeke as well. Like the thing is, I don't mean it to sound bad, but there was a lot of underperforming out of players that we saw in the Polish tournament that we expected to be in.
Pero bueno, sí, de momento que tiene 5 puntitos en su haber, no sabemos si ha matado a más gente. Jarkos que sigue aquí insistiendo con este rifle térmico y muchísima gente que tiene que empezar a rotar. Fíjate dónde ha cerrado la zona, 47 jugadores vivos. Zik, que tiene el lanzagranadas, va a cambiar a ese redeploy. Le viene bastante bien para seguir manteniendo este high ground con muchísimos materiales que ha tenido que gastar. Hupek, que está intentando aguantar ahí en esa zona tan complicada. Fíjate los jugadores de Atlantis, Ago y Virtus Pro. Está también Ryux ahí. Y Ryux, cuidado que va a coger ese jump pad y se va a marchar simplemente. Va a entrar en zona. Está bastante lejos, Charlie. Cuidado con esto.
See, we're even hearing some bottle rockets going off. You can see Zane trying to get some high ground, though. He's not going to have the ultimate high ground. It's going to be Alpha, the one to have this, looking for some shot. He's got a couple of clingers. It's not very often, Speedy, we see clingers last this long into the game.
No, probably just saving it here for endgame. You definitely want to save those clingers for, you know, some easy, quick cleanup kills so that you can get your HP up. Zay just kind of holding that wall.
Getting a couple of rockets off here or there, too. Trying to get spammed out of Alpha.
Alpha just not letting up. And when you're in high ground like this, you definitely don't want to let up. You want to get as many tags as possible. Ghost Bizzle's still alive.
Well, this is now the question as we get to, as Funk Bomb has been eliminated. The Storm is going to start to move here momentarily, and this is where people need to have that material to build, to get across, to be able to maintain some sort of positions. I want to see how Alpha is going to try to maintain this high ground. He's going to have to be very careful in how he builds. Those launch pads as well. I think everyone's going to be jumping on top of this here, Speedy. You can see the pressure starting to tick in here. A lot of elimination, a lot of damage being done. Skix has fallen. Sakona takes down Nate. Faye's going to be out, I believe, with their 2 players. And Bizzle, he's just trying not to get pushed on. He's trying to not be aggressive on. He's looking to retreat away from this one, looking for another fight. He might be able to get it here. He might be able to get this elimination done. He's still looking for the damage. The building has come in. He's down to 50 HP. He could lose this fight potentially, Speedy.
Bizzle's so weak here. Dropping into his box. He ends up turning it around.
Takes down Little J. Zextro as well going to fall, one of the most aggressive players we have in Fortnite.
Liquid Vivid, Vinny's still alive. Camo's still alive. Bizzle just trying to get his HP up after that engagement.
I think Nikoff Well, he died to the Storm Surge. A little unfortunate for there. Not going to be in the best situation. Demo's going to fall there, as you see from the low ground. Jamside, where did he even come from? He's somehow been able to take the ultimate high ground away from everyone as the Storm continues to move through. Look, everyone with Crazy Llama not going. Japan has lost out a player. And Jamside, he's got 3 eliminations. That's 15 points already. Can he maintain the spot, though?
Jamside with 16 builds left. He can't maintain this high ground. He actually gets to drop down 10 more builds. He has to get an elimination here. 105 pump going on in.
He's looking for Zayd. He's too focused on Zayd. He's being shot from a couple of different directions. You can see Bizzle there towards the low ground. Spieth, Vinny. You have Skeet to the left-hand side with Camo and Animal. Zayd's fallen. He's now dropped out of this one. Jamside going to be floating back in to retain this high ground position.
Bizzle trying to take high ground. Bizzle ends up taking the high ground from Jamside. Jamside, no builds left.
This is tough. How do you get out of this position? He's got the maximum shield he can possibly get.
He has a launchpad, but he can't even put it down because he has no builds.
Oh, he's looking to escape this, looking to maybe build down through this tower as the Storms and eventually close in on him. Tomo is looking very good, back to full HP. Vinny on a sliver of health left, just trying to stay alive towards the lower end side.
Jamside ended up going down, but Ghost Bizzle maintains the high ground.
Oh, he's trying to. He's got enough builds to do it. He's got a first aid kit if he needs as well. Animal has fallen as Smeef's able to get his elimination, being brought in by Milan as his dual partner and doing some serious work here. It's Bizzle on the high ground, able to help get the damage.
Goes down 1v1.
Skeet's the one to get these eliminations. Down to that 1v1. He's going to drop down, take a little bit of damage from this one, but can he get this elimination? 14 builds left to go. He's got the shotgun. He knows where his enemy's going to be, but the time is ticking away. He goes for the jump shot, actually on the build as well, trying to look for any sort of damage he can engage with before he goes for the drop, before he goes
Bizzle with no more builds.
Well, now he's going to have to engage into this one, right, Speedy? You can see towards the
He has to drop down. He has to drop down.
50 HP left. He's still trying to sprint. Yes, G with 19 HP. Bizzle takes the first victory out of today.
Bizzle, our secret skirmish, first place winner 2 weeks ago.
Oh,
you love to see it.
You love to see it. You love to see that consistency as well. We didn't get to talk about this at the start of the show, but consistency is amazing. But sometimes you need to have those standout games. But hell, if you're consistently in top 3 like this, consistency is perfect for you.
Absolutely. We saw Bizzle there primed and ready to retake high ground once Jamside ended up with no more mats. Took the high ground from there. It was just a piece of cake for him.
And when you're playing like this, right, this is the first game of the day in solos, and you just won the first match. You have to be so hyped and pumped now into the next.
Dude, I'm absolutely hyped. Well, that's a good start to the day here, Cam Vincent. You enjoy game number 1, right? Hey, they're warming up. They're warming up. Bizzle's not warming up, though. He's come out the gates hot, gentlemen. A player that we talked about a lot at the start of the day, how he's currently second in the standings as far as earnings is concerned. What a way to start the day, though, for him. The victory Royale and playing that final situation perfectly.
One step closer to overtaking Tfue. One step closer. That's like the first little thing.
It's a tiny little step.
It's a tiny little step, but it's one of the 7 he needs, I guess.
Say. Yeah, that's very, very true. Speedy, obviously, one thing that stood out to me, maybe in comparison to what we saw last weekend, was the amount of early eliminations that we saw in comparison to last weekend. Last weekend, we were getting down to like the final couple of zones. We still had around 80 to 90 players left in those lobbies. I think when we got towards the final couple of circles there, we had around 50, 60, and all players seemed much more willing to take those engagements.
Absolutely. I believe some of these players were definitely paying close attention to last weekend, right? And they wanted to incorporate that W key, that aggressive gameplay into this tournament. And it showed, 50 players moving circle. Definitely night and day versus like 80 players moving circle last week.
I think it's confidence as well. I think you're seeing all the top players who maybe have not had a ton of experience with this format. They're willing to, or actually not even willing, they're just that confident. They play that kind of style. It doesn't matter what format you give them, it doesn't matter what weapons you give them. They're going to try to get aggressive against you, and they're going to force you to make the mistake. Because Fortnite is a game all about mistakes. If you force someone to misbuild, or if you get above them and they aren't able to defend themselves correctly, you get those elims. So instead of playing defensively, play the style, play aggressive. Force them to be the ones to defend.
Absolutely. If your opponent's making a mistake, you have to capitalize on that, and we saw a lot of players do that.
All right, gentlemen. Well, one man who didn't make many mistakes in our opening game is the man who picks up the first victory royale of the day. Adam's down on the floor with Bizzle.
Thanks very much, buddy. I'm joined by Bizzle right now, our Game 1 winner. Bizzle, that was intense. That was amazing. You must feel like $1 million after that very first game. Walk us through the end game there. How important was the high ground?
It was definitely important. You saw a lot of people low ground and getting stuck with zone, so it was really important to stay high and stay away from all the chaos.
When you come into that kind of final circle, and there's 40 players, like top-tier players all together, how does it feel to play? How does mindset change? How does it feel to be in that moment?
I'm playing against the best players all the time, and it's nothing different. Just play your game, and it's proven to work. I've been winning games for a while now, and it just goes my way most of the time.
I've been playing in front of this live audience, this amazing audience here as well, playing against these top players. How much of an experience is for you as well as a player being here in this major, enjoying being here with everyone today?
Oh, this is insane. This is probably the biggest crowd I've ever seen at a Fortnite event. So it's a first time for me, and I'm just glad to see all the people enjoying it.
Well, Bizzle, you are the Game 1 winner. Confidence, you know, I think you got, was it 4 eliminations there? You got yourself the win as well. Points are starting to tally up. Confidence must be sky high right now for the rest of the tournament.
Confidence is high, but it's a big series, and I need to play good throughout the whole series. Still got 6 games to go, and hopefully I can take another 1 or 2 wins.
Well, one more time, ladies and gentlemen, give it up for your Game 1 winner. It's Bizzle! Best of luck with the rest of the tournament, buddy. Mark, back to you guys. What a great start to this competition.
Fantastic stuff, and great to hear from Bizzle there. A couple of things that stood out for me. Experience, saying he's been in these situations so many times now. He plays against the best in the world all the time. These endgame situations don't phase it.
And that's, I think, so important to realize. Like, to be really good at Fortnite, you have to experience all these situations time and time again to learn how to deal with them. And for him, it just seemed like, even in the interview, it's like another day at work, right? It was like, all right, another game, easy. It didn't seem like he was flustered. It didn't seem like he was, you know, like super excited. I mean, obviously he won, but he realized, as he said in the interview, that's just game 1. There's still 6 more to come.
Bizzle there just trying to contain his excitement. I don't know if you were watching, but like he is always primed and ready to retake high ground at all moments. You know, he knows the guy up top might run out of mats soon, and as soon as that happens, as soon as he senses some sort of weakness, he pounces. So we see this every single game, definitely going for the high ground, or at least being positioned to go for the high ground.
So obviously one thing we should point out as well is, you know, we have North America taking home the first win of the day. We were hoping for I'm just saying, obviously, I didn't want to say it because you're stood next to me, and I wasn't looking forward to the rapturous reaction to me saying that. It is an international tournament. One fight that really stood out for me, and we were watching it back as we do see some of these replays coming in from our game number 1. Eric versus Demo at the start. I think this is the first competitive battle at a live event that Eric had. And he went down to Demo. Demo took that battle and absolutely put him on his back. He actually chunked him with a pump to kick things off. How did you come back from that? When you're going up against one of the best players in the world, it's your first time in a lobby with these players at a live event, and you go down in your first battle against one of the best in the world. It's a tough one to bounce back from, right? You kind of have, that's a learning on the job at its best.
I think you just kind of forget about it, right? You can't let any one of those eliminations or any one of your misplays or missteps put you on tilt. You know, you have to keep your focus throughout the entire series. It was just one game, right? It's just one round. It's not a big deal. You still have 6 more to go. There's no rush to perform at like the top level just yet. And I think he was happier to go down to someone like Demo than to someone he didn't recognize as well.
Yeah, I think that's very true. It's a very good way to look at it. That's going to do it all for our game number 1, though, ladies and gentlemen. Bizzle takes home your first victory royale of the day. We're going to go for a break right now. When we're back, it's time for game number 2.
Think she can't get a last-second clutch? Watch this. Think he can't carry his team while streaming in high resolution? All the while recording a once-in-a-lifetime win? Watch this. Think leveling up only happens in-game? Watch this. On Intel Core i7, they'll rise to every challenge. Now it's your turn. Game, record, stream without compromise on Intel Core i7.
Why are you watching me when this could be you? This is so you.
Classic you. And this could be us.
This is all waiting for you. ESL for the players.
No sabes tú nada, picha. No sabes tú nada, bro. No que no. Pero se me escucha ahora. Maricones los del streaming.
ESL Katowice Royale, featuring Fortnite, is brought to you in part by Intel, HyperX, and PlayStation 4.
Welcome back again, ladies and gentlemen, to the ESL Katowice Royale. We've had our first victory royale of the day in our game number 1, and no surprises to many of you at home watching. It was Bizzle who took home that first victory royale with 4 eliminations along the way. My name is Onset. I'm going to be your desk host for the next 3 days, and we have a little bit of a change at the desk now. We have Jason staying here. You're still here. Well done. You didn't go anywhere. You didn't lose you. But at the end there, we have Martin Creek. Fantastic to have you on the desk, buddy. What a great start for Bizzle, right?
Just amazing. I mean, Bizzle, winner of Secret Skirmish versus Skite, European winner of Winter Royale. It's just an amazing start of the day.
And obviously, you know, he picked up a lot of eliminations on the way there. 4 decent start, to be honest with you. Lots of points on the board for him. But heading into our game number 2, we saw sort of the, you know, Sky going up against him there. We had that EU versus NA battle. We talked about how much of a big worldwide competition this is with the 28 different nations. You just feel like that might have spread a bit of bullet. If Sky could have won that battle, maybe could have believed would have gone through some of the other regions and some of the players in attendance.
I think all the regions were pretty happy. Well, I mean, can't say pretty happy if they didn't finish number 1, right? I think they were generally okay with the performance of the first game, but yeah, like I think if Skype did get that initial start, things could have been a little bit different. I think we would have heard him screaming with excitement, getting that elimination. There's one player I want to point out. If I can do that really quickly. Am I allowed to do that?
Of course you can.
I'm allowed to do that.
This is all you, Jason.
Because we talked about Season 8 and the changes, right? And we talked about some new items, new things in the game, like the Pirate Cannon.
Are you really going to do this too?
Yeah, I think it's worth bringing up. Tyofsky, who is streaming his own point of view. If you want to check him out, just head over to his channel. He launched himself off the map, and all I heard was "niet."
We're here to watch, not to listen to you.
That I can't say on air.
So we will make mistakes, right? Okay, mistakes were made, I think is maybe what he'll say. But he's got plenty of rounds ahead of him.
He does.
But if you do have the chance to go and check it out, it's on Twitter, it's out there. genuinely one of the funniest things I've seen in quite a long time. So,
just to jump in really quickly, by the way, Sky,
Que me coma el nabo, básicamente.
He came in second, is actually still ahead of Bizzle. So Bizzle, who won in placing, is not winning overall in the standings, which is huge.
I mean, that's the importance of eliminations, right?
I mean, look at those nationalities, Martin. I mean, across the board there, no one dominating at all at the moment. A real spread of different nationalities being represented in this top 20.
Yeah, I mean, it's looking really spread right now. And, I mean, we're only one game in right now, right? So, I mean, a lot can change. And we do have 6 games left, so, yeah.
A lot can change, but it's nice to see just not like Canada, USA, 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 Canada, USA. In top 10. I like to see all these other regions really starting out strong. I want to see them get stronger, though. I want to see the Korean boys. I want to see them step up into some top 10s. I want to see Japan as well. Crazy Llama. I'd love to see him in a top 10 position. History and Fa from Brazil. I want to see them as well in those kind of situations. And like we've been saying, it's one game. There's still 6 to go. There's no rush.
Yeah, absolutely. And one thing that I think we were all very pleased about the speed at which that first game was played. In comparison to last weekend, we saw some of the solos a little bit, you know, players feeling themselves a little bit, sort of feeling each other out a little bit more. But there was some players willing to engage in the battles here, as we see some other shots of the IEM Expo that we have here. And, you know, some of the players are just playing around some Fortnite while they're here. But one thing I want to go back to just before I was talking about there is the willingness to engage. And a lot of these players, we have some of the best in the world here, and you can see they're all confident in their own ability.
And comparing it to the Polish edition last week, we saw a lot of players when it came to solos, they would just run away from each other. If they saw anyone, they would build up in a 1-by-1, then they'd be like, all right, do I really need to take this fight? And more often than not, they said, okay, no, we're just going to back away. But here, it's complete opposite. If you see someone, you build up your 1-by-1, but you're not retreating. You want these limbs.
And we do have the Storm Surge, right? So you're kind of bound. Like, you're forced to attack someone at some point. And we did see Domentos last game. He was 1 damage below the Storm Surge threshold, and he was having such troubles trying to find someone to put some bullets in. But yeah, eventually he did find it. But yeah.
There was a few like little early markers being put down by players as well, wasn't there? There was one, I think Kuna picked up a kill and he had a little dance on top of the player that he eliminated as well.
Celebration.
Little things like that. Yeah, celebration. That's a good way of putting it. But it's just those little things that you can get in your head a little bit. If you come up against that player again in a 1v1 and it's like, ooh, I remember losing this one last time, and it's a little seed of doubt. I like that play, to be honest.
Well, speaking of losing fights, Aspect was knocked out really early on, so he lost on his drop, which, again, like when you're playing against your own regions, you're used to having positions open to you that no one's going to contest you, or at least the people that will contest you, you know how they play. Everything's out the window when it comes to this. You're playing against the best in the world, and if there's someone contesting you, it's like a 50-50 fight. There's no guarantee you're going to win any of these battles. Now, if you're Aspect, do you change up your drop location? Do you stick with it again because maybe you misplayed something and you're feeling confident the second time? But if you go into the second time and you lose again, how's it going to affect you mentally in the whole match? It's a lot for the players to take into account.
Yeah, I mean, you can't really... It's really hard to predict other players' drop spots, right? Especially with the new map changes.
Yeah.
And yeah, they're playing... There's different regions, and yeah, it's just really hard to predict. And sometimes you just have to step back, go into, like, maybe drop somewhere else and try your luck elsewhere. But yeah, a lot of places are contested.
Well, here you go then. As you can see, ladies and gentlemen, game number 2 is very much underway. Gentlemen, take it away.
All right, so start things off with our first round victor. It's going to be Bizzle here in Dusty Divot. He's able to get, I believe, like you said, the 4 eliminations. And let's see if he can do it another time here, as he's pretty much going to be uncontested at the moment. You got Myth as well, who had a really good game, actually took down Kripa. And for a player who's had such a rough time these last few months, it's great to see he's come into this, you know, ready to go and already performing well.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, like you said, he did take down Kripa, and that must give him somewhat of a confidence boost. Just going into taking down a European player and showing, yeah, NA's here ready to show you how good we are. And yeah.
You know, forget NA. I think it's just, I'm here to play. I'm here to perform.
That's right.
Got this elimination. Forget NA. I don't care about them. I care about
me.
Over towards the volcano as well. 72 hours had landed there using these vents as well to get some quick loot and potentially get out. I still want to see some Conga, though. I want to see some Conga lines being built up here. Maybe in the duos.
And he's uncontested here, and that's what I love about Volcano. You can just, like, fly around, make sure you pick up all of that loot. If you engage in a fight, you could just... you just use those vents to your advantage and dip out, or, I mean, just go aggressive as well. And here's beautiful Tomato Temple. We have Jarl here. Looks like he's contested by someone, not quite sure. There's a third player as well making his way down the hill here.
0-7, unfortunately, has fallen there. So again, one of our Chinese players is going to be eliminated as Animal was able to secure that one. We're going to see Milan, though, again, the prodigy. 28 HP, not the best of places so far. Aspect, again, has gone down. I think it was to Margin, or Magan, sorry. That was 2 games in a row that he's lost his drop. And we were just talking about that, theorizing what can happen in these situations. Do you continue to go for it? In the meantime, Milan is trying to run away from Animal, who's just hunting him down, trying to get this limb with stink bombs. And Milan, he's just looking for an escape route, but I don't think he's going to have a chance here, Martin.
He does have a shotgun, so he might get a lucky shot, but I mean, goes down to 8 health. If he manages to get a lucky shot, he might be able to take this, but it's not looking too good for Milan. We'll try to make it out here. We have a third player making his way into Snobby, so this could be just what Milan needs to make it right. Yeah, look, Animal and Ares now in a little fight here.
So somehow Milan gets lucky, summons Ares to come over here and help him out somehow. I know Animal's not able to chase on the limit, and he's going to lose his life. He almost had the elim onto Milan and Ares. I don't know if he knows, but he just saved Milan's life.
Oh, he did. And I'm not even sure he knows Milan is still there. Milan just made his way a bit like switch houses. Maybe he'll find some heals. And yeah, he got a free pass.
And Eric, who dropped to Demo before, his first big tournament here.
Lolito muerto.
Looking to have a little bit of a change of fate here into round 2. He will have Jordan, one of the 2 Australian twins. Seth, in the meantime, throwing a boogie bomb, I think that was, in towards Eric, looking to catch him out. And he even has the heavy sniper as well. But I believe he's not looking for any sort of up-close and personal engagement, so he's just going to back away.
Yeah, no shotgun makes you do that. Like, you do really want to fight in the distance if you don't have that shotgun. And yeah, I mean, we do have Mythis in here again in Lonely. Kripa, we see Kripa there on the map as well, but he's just spectating as Mies and Myth is in a little fight here.
Myth, he needs a Salim, and he's going to have another player coming in momentarily. He wants to take Kripa down another chance, and there we go on the high ground. Some damage being traded. Kripa's going to be there, Myth. He doesn't spot him out, but Kripa's not going to hit the shots. He actually hits him with the Klinger. He catches Myth with the Klinger. Myth is out. And Kripa gets his revenge.
Yeah, that's right, he gets his revenge, but now he's on the lower ground. He did manage to sneak that, to steal that elimination, and I mean, his health goes up, but gets hit by that explode. Yeah, it does.
He's running low on ammo, though. You can see 5 shots left on the silenced AR. He's got the compact SMGs he's spraying through. He's got the grenade launchers while he's running out of ammo left and right. This might be the opportunity for him to just run away and give this one up. Unless he's feeling that confident, you can see him trying to replace some walls here, Martin. Is this what you would do in this situation?
I mean, he doesn't have a shotgun, right? So I would probably just decide to dip out. I mean, he did get the explode hit, so you know he might feel confident enough. Does get some hits in as well with his P9 with his SMG here.
Yeah, I like how he actually took that second to Kripa to actually build up to make sure, trying to go for the fight himself. And Kripa will fall. Simiz will clean up that elimination. Jarkos, in the meantime, had fallen during that engagement. Smeef's going to be out of this as well if you didn't catch someone on the activity feed. Aspect and Animal both out as well. So Sentinels already losing their 2 players. It's already been a rough start. Venos is out as well. Nero's out. Bowman's out. Zayd is already out as well from NRG.
A bunch of different things here, yeah. A lot of different players going down. And look at this. I mean, we do have Sakona here, one of my favorites, versus Tux. Looks like they will engage in a fight. Sakona doesn't really have that good of an inventory. Gets the hit, though, with the hunting rifle. And, I mean, at this point, you do have to push, right?
Well, we're going to find out if he's going to go for that dynamite. Still going to be in the hand of Tux as the pressure has come in. Tux taking the high ground away from Sakona.
To the Atlantis, no?
Yeah, Sakona trying to find his way up here. We'll probably just decide to wait a little bit. You don't have to push up. Could take the building down as well if he wants to. He does know that he has the health advantage. He's not really aware of Tux minis, though. I mean, he does have the attack versus Sakona. We know that Sakona doesn't really have any close range except for that SMG.
I like, though, how Tux, every time he sees Sakona try to build up, he just stops him. He's like, all right, no, I'm keeping this position, so Sakona, you're going to have to find the low ground. Tux is looking for the engagement, looking to drop in. He's actually almost being pulled down here. He's got to be careful of potentially any traps. He goes for the end. He gets the win.
Nice
He gets the first shot, but it's just a tack shotgun. Sakona gets his own ramp up to survive for now. He also still has the minigun to use, and not to mention, now the Storm's here to help with some damage.
Yeah, at this point, you do need to finish this fight up. There's no way both of these players will make it out of the Storm. This fight has to end, and it's looking pretty grim here.
Well, we do have Envy taking down Fat Fox.
Really on the
elimination feed, and Tux will get the elimination himself, get himself topped off in HP. And he should be able to safely transition into the next zone. Dementos, Hupek, and Jesse now in a 1v1v1 battle with Jesse on the high ground. Hupek trying to fight his way through here, and Dementos just hoping that all this fighting stops and he's able to run away.
Jesse does have that redeploy, so he can make his way out of there. There's no one to be a part of this.
Ya, pero digo en general, los de 11 son los que mejor me caen.
Sure that, all right, I'm going to stay safe
Porque me parecen los mejores. O el Milan también me cae.
It looks like both players dipped out.
Look at this, Milan is still alive. He was down to what, like sub 20 HP before? He's like at 18 health in that little bit of a battle he had where Ares came out and bailed him out up against, I think that was Animal.
Yeah, and made it all the way from Snobby as well. Oh, Majin not looking too good here over at the Tivoli. Keemstar does have the high ground, and Skix just waiting it out a little bit. I'm not sure if they know that McGinn is low, both of them at least, but just a little bit of a standoff here.
It's actually a name we haven't even talked about yet, Keemstar. Been very impressed with his, I don't know, his gameplay over this, last practically year. When we've seen him in these tournaments, I've been pleasantly surprised by him. But unfortunately, I don't think he's been pleasantly surprised with the results he's gotten. And so far right now, he's not looking in the greatest of positions. But again, with the siphon factor, you could easily turn this bad position into a good one if you can get these elims. And he also has a rift if he needs to get away.
Yeah, that's right. The bottle rocket's doing some work. I believe they did 20 damage to Majin there. Just going to reposition a little bit. As you mentioned, he did have the rift, so he can make his way out. Majin's inventory looking pretty good though. He does have that close range, the long range. He does have some rotation items, and not to mention the 6 clingers.
Yeah, and those clingers can be huge here too. A couple of replays. Bowman has gone down. This is the fight we saw with Ares. Was able to actually save Milan somehow, and Myth, unfortunately, just getting caught in the back. Krippa sticks him with the clinger right there.
Yeah, he actually got the stick off. I didn't see that. I thought he got the hit off a headshot. Oh.
And the thing is, he stuck him with it, and he shot him in the head after. So it's like, all right, that's just even more disrespect for you. I'm just going to eliminate you in any way I possibly can with any damage. As Hive was in a 1v1 there, too, able to win out on that. I think Majin actually just won a fight, too. He's got the 1 elimination, even lower on HP. Yeah, he's been very rough.
Must have picked someone off. His health is a little bit lower. I believe he's using a campfire right now. Oh, Sting's coming in from Seth as Jesse's trying to push his way up here.
Thing is, Storms as well starting to center around that northeast side, which was the part of the map that's been changed the most, if I'm not mistaken here, Martin. So things are going to be very interesting to see how things transition from there on. You see Seth now looking to go for the push in onto Jesse.
Ooh, hiding inside
Jesse's using using the storm to hide, so he actually doesn't take as much damage.
Yeah, we've been talking about that. If you are being gate kept through the zone, you could just use the storm to your advantage and rotate inside the storm rather than just trying to push your way out when someone's in there.
Well, not only was Seth fighting Jesse, now he's fighting Jordan as well. We got the twins here, and Jordan actually caused a little bit of traction. He hits the shot. He gets the shield now gone. Sniper doing some serious work.
I believe he did hit the quad there actually, and not him, but you see that Seth is above the threshold. He doesn't need to take this fight, but if you're confident, I mean, what do you do? Oh, gets a little bit hurt there.
But he doesn't have a shotgun, Martin. He doesn't have the greatest equipment to fight up close and personal. He's trying to out-heal here with the bandage now. Only 2 left to go, so he's not going to stay healthy for a long time. In the meantime, Envy has fallen, though. As he only, I believe, 1 elimination this round.
Jordan does have 10 bandages, though, so he can take his sweet time. It's a little bit more annoying for Seth here, who only seemed to have 1 bandage. And, yeah, it's going to be a standoff here until Seth... I mean, do you think Seth will try to push up here, or will he just make his way out? I would make my way out, and it looked like he is.
Well, can he get away from this? He's out of healing. Storm is taken away. I think he has to look for the fight now against Jordan. He needs that extra 50 HP, and Jordan's more than happy to... No, not give him the opportunity for it, as you saw Seth there in a split second was able to go for a shot. Vivid, though, in the meantime, not in a great position here, Martin.
Yeah, Alpha versus Vivid, and Vivid was actually Alpha's duo partner, Bowman's partner, back in the secret skirmish. So they have maybe a little fight here to see. Bowman belongs to me. Vivid a bit low here, 14 health, and in the storm and no heals. He does have to finish this up now. Oh, hits the beautiful pump. Alpha eventually goes down.
A crucial elimination for him. He was most certainly going to fall to the storm. He's got some bandages, so he's most certainly going to be able to make his way through, but that was too close for comfort. But that's what you see out of the top players, to realize the situation you're in and be able to make the right decision at the right time.
And here we have it over by Lagoons. Jamside trying to claim the wall from this, but I mean, what can you really do here? He's trying to claim the wall. All he has to do is claim it, edit, and get that pump shot. But he just can't claim this wall.
He's got to be careful that his opponent doesn't take a window and go for the shot. Now the Ram's going to come through the edit as well. He's trying to run away, and Jamside will clean that up. Gets his first elimination now done.
Yeah, gets some extra shields, a bunch of shields actually, and he's looking pretty good. I did see he had about 100 builds left. Yeah, he's in the zone, so not much he needs to do now. He does seem to have the Lagoons all to himself.
Quick update as well. Fa from Brazil, from Inns, has dropped earlier on in this round, so he's no longer going to be with us. We did see Kripa fall. Aiden's going to be down as well. On top of 72 hours has fallen. A little bit of a rough time here for some of our players. Sath as well. I feel like a commentator cursed him coming into this entire solo tournament. He was the player I had to win the whole thing, but he is starting off not as strong as he'd hoped.
And I'm just loving this circle. We have players that need to rotate through the Volcano. I was kind of hoping for the circle to stick around Volcano for a little bit longer, but I'm going to be satisfied with this. Poverty just hanging around in this little 1-by-1 here, right above History, who's not looking that good on health, but I do believe they're inside the circle, so they can just take a little time, maybe try to go for a third party here. His inventory looking kind of okay, materials not so much.
Well, we're getting closer, though, to cross into that top 50. 64 left to go, and yeah, History might not be in the greatest of positions, but he also doesn't really have to move because he's inside the circles you mentioned. There's no need for him to force out a fight. Poverty, and a player we talked about is not really having the greatest performance in the Polish edition of this tournament, but he is still alive, still fighting now.
And I love this. Just look at Bissel's setup right next to the vent here. And he can just, I mean, if the circle moves, jump in the vent, go for a free rotation. And that's what I love about the right side, the top right side. There's so many vents. You can use them to your advantage. You can rotate pretty much through the entire side of the top right.
And I think what's cool about Bissell right now is we're seeing just having eliminations early. But that just means when it gets to those late stages, he's so quick at reacting and so good with his aim to be able to secure the limbs he does need to start to build up a lead. And if he runs away with the second round, I feel like everyone out there's going to have to start to look towards him as the man to beat if you want to be able to place in that top one.
Players are starting to hug each other as the circle gets closer and closer, and smaller rather. And look at that, we have Item here looking really good in his inventory. A bunch of shields, enough materials to make it to the end game. I mean, not a lot of rotation items, but as we mentioned, the vents will work in your favor. You don't really need these rotation items at this point. Rifts are always so good to have though once we get to those moving circles. And as you see in the minimap, you can see that supply drops actually showing up on the map now. So that's a change with this new season.
You can see, I think a player is right next to it here looking for some sort of chance to secure it. You can see a lot of players are already inside of the circles. The Storm's going to continue to move forward. Item just trying to bide his time. I can respect this. Hupik trying to go for Shinken here on the low ground. Trying to edit his quick little window in, but we know in the next few minutes is where things are really going to start to kick off here. Zakoner is also out of this fight. There's so many players that we expected to have, these top 10, top 20 finishes that just haven't made it through. Even Vivid has been eliminated.
Yeah, anything can happen here, really. We see Funk Bomb here setting up a little bit. Rasuru still alive in the bottom right corner. As you mentioned, Chinken is here. He does have a lot of health, looking really good. A little bit of shots going off here, trying to third party. I'm not quite sure, maybe people are above the Storm threshold or not. Sky is still alive.
Yeah, Sky, I mean, #1 EU player basically. Able to maintain a better position here than he did before, but he's still not really into the points just yet. Tap Shotgun still here for Hunter, so he's having a rough game. A lot of players, I think that we see, Martin, have been having rough games in terms of their weaponry. Not a lot of pump shotguns, at least out there from what we've seen.
Joel's trying to push up on this guy tier, but he's in such an open area, so you did get some shots fired upon him from the back. Sky seems like Sky managed to pick up some shields. I'm not quite sure. Oh, he does have some heals as well. We do see him probably applying some bandages here. Yep, so he's back on it, right? He's back on it.
Eric again has followed, unfortunately. That's going to be to Dementos this time. History able to get his elimination in on Zypan. And Sky is just, he's being fired in from behind, from the front. Jarl and Hunter both be closing in on him to survive. This is going to be difficult. Boyer takes down Nate. And Hunter, instead of actually going for the engagement, just going to back off. Use that launch pad to get a better position, hopefully for his sake. Just look at how many players he just landed around. Kinstar is going to still be alive. Tyovsky has not fallen off the map here from the cannon this time, so he's looking to redeem himself from round 2.
And just look at this hill here. This is uphill. Players need to rotate. Really, really rough, but there is a vent there up on the top side of the map.
Yeah, that geyser. It's got to be massive, right? And the thing is, it's about the players who can adapt the quickest, because that wasn't there in Season 7. Now in Season 8, it's a free rotation technically, but just think if you're that player who can hit the shots and just wait for everyone to rush into it, clean up some eliminations yourself potentially.
That's right. You will probably predict players to start using this vent soon. So see, Hoopik has a pretty good spot here, just guarding the vent. So it's not really a free rotation. It's pretty much risky. It's a high risk, high reward kind of play.
I almost want to see someone like build above it, just so if anyone tries to take it, they're just going to hit their head and they'll actually be able to escape. Milan has taken on Boyer, so he's gotten on the board here as well. Golden AR here for Hoopik, who has that one elimination to his name, is looking for Cloud. You can see a lot of big names here still left alive, and now the Storm Surge going to be active. We see the Geyser being used, and the Storm is going to move a little bit southwest of the volcano, so we're not going to see any action there just yet. I still really hope, Barton, that we do get the Storm to move in that direction, because we've already seen what Mountains can really do in these moving storms. That's true. I mean, the first moving circle will move pretty far, so it could make its way all the way into the volcano, and I would just love to see that. The chaos that would ensue. Hoopik taking a little bit of damage. And Zeke took down too, so he's going to be out of the fight. Crazy Llama. Demo as well going to drop. That's the Black Shoe. Bizzle still going to be there fighting, and you can see the high ground's going to be taken from him. It's going to be Zextro, the aggressive player, looking for something. You can see Bizzle uses the ramp to actually launch himself away from some distance, but he goes back to the fight nonetheless. I think it's time for him to go for these limbs, or at least he wants something. A lot of players now joining this building. This is going to be a really, really close fight. I mean, just look at this. Everyone's landing pretty much on top of each other. And yeah, 45 people left to go. And it's going to be go time here soon as the Storm is going to continue to close in. You can see just how many people are guarding these geysers. You can see even a supply drop coming through as well. That's going to be up Jules, who's going to actually look to secure this. I'm actually curious to see what he gets out of this. In the meantime, Zextro looking for some shots. Imagine down to very low HP. He actually got the elimination here, so he gets his own elim. He gets back to 200 HP. And now he's in a great position because he even has a launch pad if he needs it. And he used the vent, but it was really risky. He did end up going down. I would kind of see Zexor to maybe block it. I do think the vent is blocked now, however, like you mentioned earlier, so maybe we do get to see... actually, I do think you can go above the vent and use it, although it's blocked by buildings. Well, Kinstar got himself a nice little double. We're going to find out if you can use it from above. Probably in a few moments here. You can see Bizzle trying to pressure in against him. Bizzle's got the HP advantage. Item is on the transition, very low HP. Funk Bomb as well. Somehow still alive, about 10 HP to his name. If he gets this elimination onto Item, he could be looking at about 60 HP. And Zextro, Razru, both on these high ground spots. Razru just on the high ground. Does have the RPG as well. And they're looking really good. He has 3 eliminations, a lot of materials to work with, and not to mention the high ground. He's in such a good spot right now. You see Scram, he hits that geyser, immediately gets tagged up. Everyone going into these geysers can be shot at. If you hit these, you could be net yourself quite a few. Razru's up to 3. Ares has fallen to Zeke. Actually, a lot of eliminations coming through. Jordan's going to fall, so I think the X2 boys are going to be out of the fight in this round. Zeke eliminates himself, well, technically, from Storm Surge, I guess. And as we see the circle starts moving north here. So Kaiser go down in the action feed. A lot of chaos going on right now. The circle is moving slowly up the mountain here on the side of the volcano. Oh, Vato taking a lot of damage when he's trying to fly with the vent. Oh. Let's see, Isa is going to fall to Tyovsky, he's going to fall to Blood X Jules. Looks like he's basically on the ultimate high ground position, but again, with that geyser, you can never feel safe. People can just launch themselves up towards that top position. Vato, as you mentioned before, very low on HP, as well as Hunter. He's just trying to get a little bit by some time to heal if he has anything, but he's going to fall to Funk Bomb, who was on about 10 HP before. He's been able to build himself back up to about 75. Hunter gets tagged up from Jules. He's looking to close this one out, looking to edit his way down into this one. Zextro as well, you see him just dropping back down here from the high ground, able to get back up high in the sky, but not really able to get into a good position just yet. Will not give up high ground for the launch pad. We'll decide to keep the high ground and just extend. Item trying to claim the high ground as well, taking some damage, but not quite sure he's going to make his way out of that. We see Bizzle going down, eventually Chinken as well. Beehive not looking too good. Nikov going down. A lot of players just dropping like flies right now. Chinken down, Beehive like we mentioned. And just look at this. Jules just keep this high ground. He's keeping this position. Now the question comes into this, Spartan. Will EU take their first victory out here in the solo tournament?
Este tío tiene como una cosa contra EU, loco.
Jules now looking for the drop down. He's running out of materials to build with. He actually might take a lot of damage. Oh, he eliminates himself. The mid special. Jules is going to be out of the fight, and Zextro's still going to be there somehow at about 30 HP.
Keenstar in a very good position. He has the zone on his edge, but just look at this Razru trying to pick up some mats here, pick up some existing loot.
Siempre está diciendo como NA, no sé qué, a ver si EU coge ya su primera win. Ha dicho antes, el Mitro es el que más dinero ha ganado en EU y el noveno del mundo. Eso enseña que NA no es talento pesado.
Razru towards the low ground with Keenstar to his side. Hoopek just trying to stay alive in a little 1v1 as Zextra is looking to transition as well. The Storm is continuing to move here.
Won't have time to use those bandages. The Storm is moving. You need to move with it.
And he hit the shot, though. He's got the shotgun towards the high ground. He's got still 4 players left to go. You can see everyone trying to be so cautious about Razru. Hoopek won't go down. Eliminations left and right. Now it's going to be Zextra. All of the Keenstar who's looking for this final limb. The trap goes down. The trap almost getting close to finishing someone off. And it comes down. Shotgun blast. Zextra will fall. Keenstar is going to take home.
Lo ha humillado el Keenstar, pero casi la atrapa.
With 5 eliminations.
Casi la atrapa.
Pure chaos there at the end.
That's a great word. That's a good word to explain it, the chaos. But I think it's more of the controlled chaos you saw. With those 4 players left alive, it wasn't they're just running out.
¿Quieres jugar una screen de dúo?
They're being very careful about how they edit their way through, how they build their way through. But those double limbs that came through, I think one player got one of them, then